Hello, everyone. This on our Sunday night, November 11th, Veterans Day in the United States. We are streaming live on Kardec Radio Facebook page. Please tell all your friends about Kardec Radio Facebook page. There's lots of people streaming live events. It's wonderful. It's 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Pacific, all time zones in between and around the world. I know there's 6 hours difference now between United States and Brazil, since they both did the opposite of daylight saving times. So I can't tell you how pleased I am to be talking tonight. We are talking about my favorite subject, Spiritism, brought to us by the codifier of Spiritism, Allan Kardec. What a wonderful person. And as I told everyone before, and I'm sure everybody on this knows, but this is for anybody new coming on our program. We seem to have new people on our program every week listening to it on Kardec Radio, coming to my YouTube site. You can look at my YouTube site. It's Northwest Spiritism, but you can go to my blog, NW Spiritism, and you can go to my YouTube site or my BitChute site. So any time we do these live programs, I always put them on the YouTube and the BitChute site. In addition, I put in, 4 to 6, maybe 8-minute videos on different aspects of Spiritism. I call it Spiritism Explored and Explained. So there's a very, short videos. It's great for people. I also have a wonderful woman in Brazil translating these and putting subtitles into Portuguese for anyone interested. So please see there's over 100 videos on the YouTube site right now. And we have over 300 subscribers. So thank you very much for everyone subscribing to that YouTube site. We are a small Spiritism has been around the United States for many years. There's actually a book written by a psychograph, Chico Xavier and Waldo Vieira, back, I think, in the 60s or the 50s. I'm sure people know better than I do. So there was Spiritists here back then. It kind of never grew, and we're trying to get a leg up on that now. There's a lot more Spiritist sites and Spiritist centers than there used to be. There's probably not most of the major cities. There's at least some. So we can, if you don't have a Spiritist site in your own location, start one up. Send me an email. I have helped quite a few people. Oh, there's Barry. Yes, I am doing well. Thank you, Barry. In fact, Barry is starting his site. So there's the more we can get people to understand that Spiritism is here to help us. It's a doctrine, not a religion. And it's telling us that we are watched and loved and cared for. It's called Christian Spiritism. We all recognize Jesus Christ as the governor and our moral and spiritual leader. But it tells us some things we don't really know from Christianity, and a lot of it was lost during the early years of the church when they became more mature and it became more settled and unfortunately more corrupt. They wanted more power, and then one of the things the early church members believed in was reincarnation, and that's very important because without reincarnation, and Matthew Mills, I listened to the whole Astral City book on YouTube. Well, how great! Yes, and don't miss the movie. The movie Astral City, also called No Solar. The book is also called No Solar. It's the first book in the Andre Louise series of books, which are just remarkable. I cannot tell you, read those books, watch the movie. It's only I think $3.99 to rent. We actually bought ours. It's one of the few movies I enjoy seeing every year. In fact, we usually try to see it around Christmas every year, the whole family. So we have a great time. But anyway, so Christian Spiritism really brings us some messages that we didn't get to us in full throttle in the New Testament. Because why? Because what we were told, even by Jesus in the New Testament, is that they were going to send us a consoler and explain things more in a later time. And that was done with Allan Kardec and the Spirits book. Now, he's written other books, which are wonderful books. The Gospel According to Spiritism, which explains and goes through and explains things like, what does it mean by the meek will inherit the earth, and all sorts of things that were like a little bit, at least to me, I'm sure to other people that knew it much better than I did. I didn't quite understand it, and this explains exactly what was meant. And we were told about Spiritism because we were ready. So the spirit realm, what they say is we talk to you humans at your level of maturity, culturally and technology of what you can understand at the time. Like the Old Testament, you can see in reading the Old Testament, there's very directive, like you're going to do this, or you're going to go in this town and kill everybody except maybe one or two people. And, there's very directive. You did what you're told. It's almost like, and it is. They knew they were working more primitive humans, and the New Testament is more about love and charity and self-actualization. And then, of course, Spiritism, they're telling us more. They're telling us more about what's in heaven, what's heaven, what's the process, how many levels. I mean, how do we go from one level to the other? How do we ascend? Why are we watched all the time? Why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? All that is explained by a couple very central themes, and that is reincarnation and karma, right? And that we are really on a campus called Earth, and we are here. Why are we here? We are here to improve. We are here to become mature spirits who actually can contribute. Right now, we're like those children in elementary school. We're kind of cute, but not very reliable, and no one would pay us anything to do anything, correct? So that is what we want to become, is become very, competent, efficient, wise spirits. Why do we need to do this? Because the other thing that Spiritism tells us is because when you are a spirit, and it's the higher you go, the more powerful you are. How are you powerful? In the spirit world, thought is action. I cannot say this enough. Thought is action. In the most fantastic fantasy book you've ever read, the spirit world is more fantastic than that. Imagine a world where you can go and you think and it happens. Now, it doesn't happen. It's not that easy, right? Because there's people get together, they plan, they use their collective powers to create houses and landscape and all sorts of things. You can read about those. You can actually read about how people get together and do all this stuff in my books. On book 1, Heaven and Below, book 2, The Spirit and the Spirit Realm, and I have book 3 also, How the Spirits Guide Us. It is amazing, and this will tell you why we have to go through the trials we are here on Earth. Now, all of that gets to the point what this broadcast is for, and that is for going through my book, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism. And in this book was created from a poem by Andre Luis, who is, you'll know Andre Luis, Matthew, because he is the main person who dictated No Solar to Chico Xavier. And in fact, what Spiritism tells us is it wasn't just Andre Luis, in his spirit form, laying his hand on Chico Xavier. There's actually a whole group of spirits helping interpret, how to write this book. So it's very interesting. But Andre Luis wrote a poem with 24 verses, and it is just very short verses. So what we're talking about now is an industrious patience. And that's verse 7. And that's what he said, just very short things, trust in God and yourself. And number 7 is an industrious patience. And each verse, as I go through in the book, How to Live, is what does they mean by that? What do they mean by these 3 or 4 words, right? And they're actually steps. Each step gets us more and more to be spiritually mature. So let's talk about that. Patience. Now, anyone who knows me knows that patience is my least developed attribute. I have been told in messages from the spirit realm. While I have plenty of impatience, but for some reason I didn't make up for my lack of patience. I've always wanted what I wanted now and had no desire to wait. And therefore, so was the whole thing about Andre Luis and his book on, wait, I didn't see it. Oh, so was the whole thing about Andre Luis and his backstory. So it's Andre Luis. It is all was created by Andre Luis. And when you see you saw the book No Solar, that is all true what happened to Andre Luis. I was just saying that as far as making the right message from Andre Luis's travels and exploration in the lower zone and into the levels of heaven that was helped to be interpreted by a group, as far as interpreted it into Portuguese that was colloquial at that time. So that, within I think in the 1950s, I think, or 1940s, I think the first book, No Solar, came out. So no, and then read the next books. I think The Messengers is the next book. Every book is wonderful. You just can't believe it. Then you get to the book Liberation. That's just a shocker. So you will you will be forever changed by reading those books by Chico Xavier. And of course, you can go to my blog, nwspiritism.com, and click on Allan Kardec's picture. It'll take you to the EDICEI bookstore. You'll find his books there. And actually, I think they're cheaper than you can get them on Amazon. But you can also find them on Amazon.com too, of course. So yeah, let me know if you have any other questions, Matt. I'd be happy to answer them. So getting back to patience. I know I've always lacked it, right? I've always wanted what I wanted now and had no desire to wait. And, therefore I just, I force things, right? And I know choices have to be made and options follow when the timing is correct, not when you wish it so. And that's part of the wisdom coming into our intelligence. That's part of our growth as a spirit, is to understand when you have to wait for certain events. You cannot, I'm sure as we've all learned as we get older, you cannot force people to change. If you have someone who think, this person doesn't know what he's doing, you can't force them. There's events that will happen that will be determined by the spirit realm that will lead them to change. You can help, but you can't force something before the time is due. And part of our learning is to understand the signs and signals of what is, when that is happening. And so this is a fundamental lesson presented to us by the spirit realm. One cannot create planetary systems, ecosystems, all entire ecosystems like on the Earth or other planets, in life in general, without the ability to pick the right moment. The spirit world sends us to Earth to acquire knowledge and wisdom. And wisdom is the combination of intellect and emotion, such as love, caring, and compassion, which unites in the ability to apply solutions to complex problems in the most humane and efficient manner possible. Now, this wisdom, with patience and intellect and emotion, this doesn't mean that everyone will like or even agree with the solution, or that people won't be adversely affected in the short run. Only that over the long arc of time, that which have been decided will serve to edify the individuals involved. Now, as part of my chapters in this, I go through and say, what does that mean? What does the spirit world mean by industrial patience? Then I try to say, how do we accumulate that? So in the communications of spirits, the Reverend G. Owen, they talked about the basic conceptual development process. And this is important. This is why we have to understand why we have to be patient, not only with ourselves, but with our culture, our form of government, the whole world, our culture, right? Everything is going to take things at their time, because they will create a better foundation for the future. So when they talked about the development process, whether animal or mineral, what they said is it is spiral. So spiral. Think about that. It's not a straight line. We don't start as a primitive soul and we just get better and better, kind of, at a certain angle. No, it goes up and down. We park for a while, so it's very interesting. So what they're talking about is whatever was commenced had within it a self-improving mechanism. So as we grow, sometimes we'll think we'll take 2 steps back or 1 step back, but we do that in order to go forward. So there would be times of growth, and this is what they say. This concept is for anything. There would be times of growth and expansion, then periods of contraction, which may seem like a step backwards, but was actually destroying weak attributes to make way for a stronger foundation. Then an acceleration and an expansion once again. This spiral, right? This kind of stepping back, a contraction, but to get rid of the weaknesses in our system and then go up again. This is how we have evolved and how the entire history of mankind has evolved. If the spirit world did not have patience, we would have been made perfect to begin with. The result would have been a monotony of sameness, right? If we were all made perfect, we'd all be the same. We would be like the worker ants, never changing, never growing, and never creating on our own at all. It takes patience to begin an endeavor and let it play out, only interfering at precise critical moments. So, how do we acquire industrious patience? So, first, we need patience for ourselves. And this applies to our personal growth. We are impatient for results. I know I am absolutely. We want to drive a car before we are of age. Even before we achieve the financial status to buy an automobile or pay for insurance. We want a home and a family before we realize all the responsibility that entails. We want spiritual growth without the work to earn it. All of this will come and arrive at the right time when we are ready if we have patience. The spirit world notifies us of the need to wait. And because even if we don't realize it, factors are always at play to take us to that next pinnacle. This is what one of the spirits told us. How many times you ask for guidance in the experiences of life? You frequently appeal to the spirituality weighed down by afflictions and disappointments, as if crushed by the stones of despair. However, on most occasions, the divine remedy to overcome such concerns is already enriching your experiences in life. Who among us ignores the imperative need for patience during the unsettling circumstances that assault us in our evolutionary journeys? Such a simple recommendation this is. One would object that this reminder expresses nothing else but the obvious, so preordained to everyone in their evolution as the humdrum of daily life itself. However, that which is evident is not always the easiest to accomplish. The practice of good is an indispensable light in the pursuit of happiness. We all know that. Nevertheless, who among us can kindle it without effort? Spontaneous assistance to others is a safe foundation. This is irrefutable. Yet how long will we spend on the complete learning of such message? In every obstacle to conquer and all in shadows to extinguish, let us engage patience in the service of the heart. Patience applied to tolerance and understanding in all trials and struggles that the world presents to us. Progress may vertiginously follow the avenues of intelligence on earth when it comes to the material nature of our realizations. However, without the lubricant of patience and the machinery of our relationships with each other, the speed in the physical world will frequently do nothing but dry out the gears of our life, precipitating us rather often towards instability or disaster, fatigue, or perturbation. If you aspire to find safe directives that may guarantee stability to your home or social group, if you aim at being the most efficient at the work entrusted to you, if you really want to support your beloved ones, and if you effectively want to live with tranquility and produce abundantly, cultivate patience during moments of tribulations and problems that reoccur on your path, wherever they are. For it is only through the constant exercise of patience that we will find within us a peaceful territory in which we will edify the everlasting kingdom of love. Now, that was a long quote. That was by Jose Herculano Pierres, who wrote the commentary after what the Spirit Emmanuel expressed above told us, that we live in a culture and time of speed. Do we not, right? We expect everything to come quickly. We drive fast, we brake fast, we never have time to slow down. We do so much, but we anguish over the fact that we can't do what we want. We cry that time is short and that the days are filled. Herculano Pierce is correct. We do live an accelerated life. We find a delay of 2 seconds to download a page on the internet to be an eternity. We no longer can sustain the endurance to sit through the opening titles of a movie. You've noticed how they've changed? Hence, the film industry is either putting those at the end or grabs our attention first and then flashes the minimum information as the story begins. We are becoming, in this culture, we are becoming stimuli reactors instead of reasoning humans. We have only time for emotions instead of the valuable exercise of analyzing, planning, and acting deliberately. Hence, our culture is one of instant gratification. We can't stand to listen to anything that causes us to sit and ponder. We don't wish to be troubled by anything that demands us to be still and think out precisely what the other person said and how that will affect ourselves and our society in the long run. We think about our own feelings first instead of thinking about the person, the other persons, and then how to react that would be edifying for that person, to be helpful for that person over the long run, instead of making sure that we feel good for ourselves in the short run. This is all patience. And this pervasive state of wanting everything now leads to the destruction of our ability to spiritually grow. If we can't find the time to filter through all of the ideas and thoughts which pass by and through us, then all we can accomplish in this life is to give free rein to our primitive emotions, which spill out of all of us because we feel we must react instead of patiently thinking it out. And that's a good lesson, right? We need to learn that. When we're, selling our house, right? You want to sell your house immediately. You want to sell it for the price you put down. But then you have to learn to be patient, because I have news for everyone out here. You're going to sell your house when the spirit world has decided to sell your house. You're going to sell your house to the person the spirit world has decided your house is going to be sold to. You're going to sell your house for the amount that the spirit world has decided. I could be wrong on small points, but overall, this is part of predestination. And if you don't get what you want, don't worry about it, because that was the way it should have been. If it doesn't come as fast as you want, then it wasn't supposed to be. Other things were happening. So you don't get frustrated with that. If you have a deal you don't really like, but you know you have to take it or you could miss it, you take the deal. And you don't look back and say, oh, I should have gotten this or I should have done that, and just, be dissatisfied with yourself. No, you were given that amount because that's the amount you required. That was the amount to put you in your next lesson, right? We all go through these episodes. We have one lesson to the next. You make 50 or 100,000 or 20,000, whatever, from your house. That was the amount you needed to do your next trial, your next episode. Look at it that way. And therefore, I'm really trying to tell you is that if you lack patience, then it leads to dissatisfaction. This is the whole part of this book, right? Inner peace through Spiritism. Patience gives you inner peace. The more you accept these things, it doesn't mean you have to be a patsy and have to just sit back and let everything happen. But you have to know when that you're striving beyond that period, right? So when you are impatient, you are dissatisfied. When you are unhappy with your life, you look for easy and invariably wrong answers. The Spirit Joanna points out the slippery slope of allowing yourself to become frustrated. This is what she says. Dissatisfaction is responsible for many of the ills and sufferings in the social fabric, creating imbalances that can be easily avoided. By using mechanisms of evasions, individuals avoid assuming their own reality. They create models of fictitious happiness to which they shift their aspirations, producing and clinging to states of nonconformity and discontent, wasting excellent opportunities for self-knowledge and fulfillment. These standards become their goals, although they are unlikely to reach them. In the event that they actually do reach them, they remain stuck in the same state of morbidity and maladjustment because such goals are fallacious. Minutia becomes essential, and details that differ from what they considered to be beautiful, healthy, and aesthetic and happy become highly important, thus keeping them stuck in misery. Rebellious in character and perturbing in behavior, they belittle the invaluable resources available to them, and they long for only what they would like to be, have, and appear to be. In this climate of discontent, they wait for a miracle that will never occur from the outside in. They do not put forth the effort to transform their outlook and change their attitude from the inside out. Now, those are words of wisdom from the Spirit Joanna. She has identified the great trap that we set for ourselves. Instead of seeking the truth within our own divine conscience and seeking God and spirituality, we construct a facade of what we believe will make us happy. Now, what I just said is all what advertising is based upon. Advertising is all based upon selling you a product that you think will make you happy. Everything is very, the symbols, the messages, either subconscious or whatever, our conscious messages are all there. This material society is that we are being programmed constantly to think that that one product will make our life the way it should be. That living in that one house, buying that car, oh, we will be happy. And this is what they're saying, right? This is what the Spirit Joanna said. No, because you're using other people's goals, and those goals and their, what their loves of their material life is always going to be moving. It's always going to be different than what you are, because they always have to change, right? Just like fashion changes every year, because the people in the top always want to be on the forefront. So you will never be stress-free or happy if you always take the external, goals of the culture at our time, right? Seek your truth within, what fits with your own conscience. And what we believe will make us content and fulfilled is invariably material. And we believe that money can buy our desires. And if we follow the full stream of our culture and put all of our effort in attaining wealth, then we too can be visibly cheerful and well off as others, as we see in the media, right? That's the trap that they set for us. If we can just be like them, we will be happy. Oh, look at those happy people. They're in that car right there. Look at that house. That's a happy family in that house. We can be that. The problem is, the Spirit Joanna sets out, is once we attain our goal, we find it eerily lacking and believe it to be that we are not following the dictates of society close enough. How many people do we know like that? Therefore, evidently, we must have the same brands, the same clothes, cars, and house styles, for that must be the past to appear completely satisfied. But it will never happen, because inner peace can't be imposed from without, only from within. Now, I've talked about patience, what the lack of it does. So how do we acquire patience? What steps do we go to acquire to be more calm and forgiving and patient? Well, the Spirit Joanna lays out the plan to acquire patience. It is one of the three legs of the stool which allows our will to triumph in any circumstances. This is what she says, and she is brilliant. There are three indispensable resources that will support the will's framework: patience, perseverance, and self-confidence. I'll say it again: patience, perseverance, and self-confidence. Patience teaches that while every endeavor has a beginning, it cannot be finished right away. For just as soon as one phase is completed, another challenging one appears. Since the individual never stops growing, only through careful and continuous action can one reach one's objective. Now remember, even, as I talked before about spirals, even we go through these spirals, right? We'll go through we'll accelerate through one thing, and then boom, something else will happen. And it will serve to teach us important things and maybe remove certain characteristics we had in order to build better for the future. And that's how lives go, one after the other. So, as Joanna said, continuous action can one reach one's objective. And I'll go on with her quote. Thus, work unfolds peacefully as new horizons open up to be braved at a later time. One never feels rushed or troubled for not yet having completed it. Patience is a resource that must be trained insistently to give continuity to any undertaking while one waits for outside factors to contribute to the hoped for results. This mechanism is nothing but the result of well-directed effort, a rhythm in one's work that must not be interrupted. Conditionings are slowly created in the unconscious to aid the ability to wait, quieting perturbing anxieties and fostering a climate of emotional balance. Like any other achievement, patience requires the indispensable requisites of practice, consistency, and faith in one's ability to carry out the endeavor. Patience avoids going beyond what is required for one's inner growth at the start, preparing a plan that must be followed step by step without leaps, bringing excellent results that will open the way to other possibilities for personal development. In the tradition of early Christianity, people regarded as saints those individuals endowed with uncommon attitudes, capable of handling unbearable situations and even excruciating testimonies. Over time, various legends arose, much to the taste of the imagination. For instance, it was said that Saint Kevin, desiring to pray, was seized by an attitude of ardor and held out his arms through an open window in preparation. Suddenly, a bird landed on one of his upturned palms, where it proceeded to build a nest. 2 or more weeks passed, but Kevin did not move until the little bird had hatched its eggs. His companions regarded this as an act of patience, blessed and unusual patience. It is not necessary to reach that degree of patience. It is obviously impossible to live it. Even so, the example serves to show that with patience, the impossible becomes possible. So said Joanna D'Angelis. Is that not so true? All of us know that. All of us know we must be patient, but it's hard and it's something we must train for. I have gotten better. I'm not where I want to be. I'm still impatient, but I'm not as stressed about it as before. I would like things to move faster, but I say, okay, no, I got to wait and make sure that things are go in a calm, in a buildable manner. So if one believes that we are on earth by chance and life is a series of your personal choices mixed in with random events, then patience is really difficult to attain. After all, that's what I thought, right? I did believe in God, but I thought, we kind of create our own destiny and these things happen. And why should I be patient? Because I got to build, before I die, and who knows what's going to happen after that. Because after all, you think one is only alive for a short time, and every minute to live it as you see fit that is denied you is lost forever. Spiritism just changes that outlook, right? Spiritism tells us we are immortal souls. And when we die, we don't lose our character or personality. We still are who we are. So therefore, if one looks at life as a spiritist, a series of educational challenges over the course of infinity, then patience becomes part of the process. You're not missing out on anything. You'll never miss out on anything. You have infinity to make up for what you didn't do. Just like taking your books, paper, and pencils to school, and you wait for the bell to begin class and wait for the next bell to end class, you realize the bell will ring when it does, not a moment sooner or later. You don't waste energy on desiring to ring to occur. You simply wait and perform other functions. That class bell will eventually ring. Of that you are certain. Take the same point of view to your objectives. Plan and start the work, track, and make modifications. Don't agonize over it. Don't worry, because whether you attain your objective or not was all planned out by the spirit realm. And the very act of the journey could have been what was specified for you for your edification. How many people we see? People open businesses and they say, to start your business takes actually 2 to 3 years to be successful. And of course, whenever anybody starts a business, they think they should be successful right away, start making money. In fact, most businesses fail because you don't have enough capital to put you through those years, because your business plan, whatever it is not going to work, right? It almost never works, very rarely. And you're going to have to find a way to make money. And what you do, that's part of the patience. You're going to have to try things. It won't work. Try something else. And that's part of gaining wisdom and experience. And you look at that in your life, and then you think about that in multiple lives, and how each of your journeys, each of your trials, each of your physical existences with the same family members in life after life, right? Is you're going to become a better and better person if you grab that opportunity. This is the open secret of reincarnation. No opportunities are ever lost. Opportunities for love, wealth, greatness, and fame are always waiting ahead. After all, you're a very relatively non-educated spirit. The spirit world wants you to sample each and every one of these. A well-rounded and educated superior spirit must be tutored in various circumstances. All of this will come. Don't worry that if you think in a past life you're never a king or queen or prince or princess or whatever, you will be some sort of power figure. Now, as I said before on these on my radio programs, actually being rich and wealthy and successful is the hardest trial of all. And in fact, I shudder to think that what I would do if I came this life. I would have been probably just impossible to live with. Thank heavens the spirit world decided just to make me just regular middle class and give me the trial so I could learn about Spiritism. Because I would, in our culture now, if you're rich and famous, that just means you're smarter than everybody else because you have more money. Now, we all know that's not true, but that's the way it is. So don't worry about where you are now. Everything in the future, worry about changing your attitude and character. So if money comes, you can handle it with humble and be good to people. If you become poor, you can handle it with humbleness and still be nice to people. Whatever happens to you, that's really what you want to cultivate, is your character and personality, to get those, to wipe out and remove those blemishes of the primitive, grabbing, angry, violent, primitive emotions. And that's what causes stress, and embrace the more advanced emotions of patience and wisdom, charity, faith, and helping your neighbor, and honor. So pray for yourself, meditate, right? Meditate every, if you can, just the 60 seconds, talk to God, talk to the spirit world, take one night a week, right? And just, for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, meditate and just open yourself up to say, okay, how can I get patience? What should I do next? And you'll be given inspiration. And the spirit world will grant your wish. Now, sometimes you'll want something that you shouldn't have. And sometimes they'll grant your wish just to demonstrate to you the folly of attempting something before you were ready. During a Spiritist mediums meeting, the mediums encountered, I'll give you an example. The mediums encountered the spirit of a miserly man who, after he passed away, still frequented the house he had lived in. He had lived under the stairs of his house, for he rented the rooms to lodgers so he could make money. He had several houses and rented rooms at a good profit. He lacked nothing and could have lived quite comfortably in one house while renting the others. Instead, he chose to make as much as he could, for he was enthralled with money. That was his driving passion, to the exclusion of everything else. The poor soul was miserable in the lower zone after he passed away, locked on earth, unseen by his past tenants, and still tied to his golden possessions. And when the medium asked the high spirit how this came to pass for the poor miser, the high spirit said that the man was still an immature spirit. He had plenty to learn, but this man asked to be rich in his next life. He was told he wasn't ready, but he insisted, nope, I want to be rich. Therefore, the spirit realm sent him back to earth to be rich, so he could learn the lessons of his impatience. At some point, while trapped in a prison of his own making, he will awaken and cast off his old material ties and begin again the trek upward to spiritual growth, wiser for the lesson he received. So, be patient, right? For the future will unfold. It has to. That's why we are on this earth. That's why we have the concept of time. In the spirit world, there's no concept of time, right? You'll see everything kind of merge together. You'll see the beginning, the middle, the end as you go. Here we have time because it makes us pace through our lessons. All you really have is today, for today is when you will learn and grow and implement the plan that you have devised. I tell you, anyone who's probably here on earth that's interested in spiritism, spiritualism, who understands about reincarnation and karma, who are trying to achieve that spiritual ascendancy, most probably, I mean, not all, you came to earth in a plan and a body that you were part of creating that blueprint. You decided, you yourself are the ones that decided you're going to be fired at that time, or you're going to have that miserable first marriage. Even though you probably blame other people, you were the one that said, no, I think I need to do this because in the past I'd made this mistake or that mistake. And I talk a lot about this in my book, The Problem is a Solution, because we are given these trials and they're there because we need to learn what we've done in the past, and we need to learn how that affected that person that we did that to. And now that is happening to us, right? that terrible relationship we have that with that person uh, is probably what they're doing, pretty similar to what we did in some past life. And we're saying, and now we're in this life, go, oh, I don't like this at all. But that you should put that into your heart and say, okay, I'm never going to do that to anybody, no matter how irrational things happen. I will try to, withdraw from that relationship with gracefulness, right? So, again, living wholly for the future is not to live and to not take advantage of the teachings the spirit world is providing you today. Yes, you must withhold gratification for today to earn your prize in the future, but your sight must encompass those around you also. Otherwise, you may miss a chance to lend a helping hand or support someone in need. In the book, Our Daily Bread, the Spirit Emmanuel writes about today. He first talks about Paul, who said in Hebrews chapter 3, verse 13, but encourage one another every day, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. This is what Emmanuel then wrote after that. The apostles' recommendation on our daily mutual encouragement requires a great deal of reflection in order to keep doubts at bay. Let us emphasize that Paul placed singular importance on the time called today, pointing out the need to take advantage of the resources in play for the possibilities presented to us during the day at hand. Let me stop right there for a second. So think about that, what they said, taking advantage of the resources in play. Now think about what happens with a child in a classroom. The child's in a classroom, and the teacher gives that child resources. Says, oh, read that book, or cut these cards, or do this puzzle. And the child, of course, is thinking they don't even understand they're being led, but they're given these resources for them to mostly, not constantly, but mostly subconsciously learn something, right? Maybe just in kindergarten, just to be socialized. That's what's happening to us. We're being given resources in play every day, every week, and we get from these, and we're learning. But we're not learning because of random events. We're learning because it's directed. It's our lesson plan that we were part of making. Let me go back to the quote by Emmanuel. Many believe that in order to give advice to their brothers and sisters, they must talk all the time, making themselves nonstop arguers. It is important to realize, however, that guidance consisting solely of words invariably leaves a great emptiness after they have been uttered. As occurs in the realm of physical organization, no spiritual edifice can be built without a foundation. The statement, but encourage one another, represents a more important appeal than simply calling one another to verbal duels. Invitations and advice becomes more effective when accompanied by an example. All those who practice the noble principles to which they have devoted themselves, who are eagerly fulfilled their duties, and who sincerely exhibit the goods, are exhorting their brothers and sisters in humanity to take the pathway of spiritual growth. It is this kind of daily testimony that the convert of Damascus invites us. Only by means of this constant practice of self-betterment will men and women free themselves from deadly deceit. So, at the end, what are we saying? Patience is an acquired behavior. We are not born with patience. We may have some when our personality comes after we're around 15 and above from our previous personality, and character starts coming through after we've starting to exit childhood. But we need patience in this life, and we always need to improve it. And patience must be exercised and strengthened. And believe me, the spirit world will give you trials every day about patience. Doesn't it not, right? Everything, standing in line, your ATM machine doesn't work, it eats your card, all those things, right? We just have to be patient. Most importantly, it should be placed intended to as one of the supporting pillars of your will. From your will comes everything else. This is your will, the focus, right? Faith, love, kindness, wisdom, knowledge, charity, and fraternity, along with accomplishments. With patience comes calmness and certainty. Stress will melt away in the face of poised, tranquil patience. Your body will be in balance, and your spiritual vibrations will be in harmony. And when we help other people have their spiritual vibrations in harmony, and when the majority of the world's population and their vibrations are in harmony, what will happen? That is when we'll start the ladder, the true becoming of a planet of regeneration, where wars, hate, and envy will be erased. And what it takes is it takes our collective spiritual vibrations, our following of our conscience, everything to be. Because as the whole earth responds to our vibrations, responds to our lack of stress, our harmony, our spiritual level on earth. And as that happens, your future lives on earth, when we become a planet of regeneration, there won't be people born with disfigurement, born with things that's that hurt them, that all these poor handicap and challenges that happen to people. Those happen because of a reason from a previous life. That won't be necessary in the planet of regeneration. Things will be better. We will be in the paradise of earth that we have always wanted it to be. So I want to say thank everyone for being here tonight. Again, all of this information is in my book, How to Live Inner Peace with Spiritism. I want to encourage everyone to go to my site, nwspiritism.com. Click on his picture. You'll go to the EDICI bookstore. And also, as I say every time, you can find all of his books on PDF, Allan Kardec. And then, of course, look up Chico Xavier. Read his books, especially No Solar. Start that. It's like 13 books. I think two of them were not in English, but I think they're coming into English any moment. That was actually notified to us on this Facebook page, Kardec Radio. So again, on this Facebook page, if you're on my live streaming, share that with other your friends, with other Facebook pages. I'll put it on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel or BitChute channel. Tell your friends about NW Spiritism. I have articles every day. You can sign up for NW. You can sign up on that. You'll get an email every, my article. I don't flood anything like that. You just get notified that there's a new article once a day. I don't use it. I don't sell it or anything else to anybody else. I'm also on Twitter. So you can see that all on my website, NW Spiritism. Also on my website, under meetings, there's a link to where there's different organizations in different cities throughout the United States. And you can find out where you can go and be part of that. And believe me, once you understand and you start embracing Spiritism, everything becomes better. You live life less stress. You understand you're here just for a short time. You're here to learn. You're here to love and help other people. And all of your material goods will all disappear away, because you are immortal, and everything else around you on this earth, in this physical earth right now, this will all pass away. Anyway, I want to say God bless everybody. Thank you so much for being part of our program today, and have a great week ahead. And we will talk again next Sunday. Again, thank you so much. I'll end the broadcast.